Welcome to Fatboy FadeAway, episode 167. I'm your host, Daren Breyer. I got Tyler McGurk with me here another Sunday morning. Tyler, we're going to do a look back. We've got a few of these over the years. I think that's always something we enjoy doing the most. We're going to focus on Game 2, 2015 Western Conference Finals, Rockets at Warriors. We'll get into that here in just a few minutes. How you doing here Sunday morning?
Doing good. A little flashback, a little throwback for Fatboy FadeAway, and hey, we're making this a regular Sunday morning thing. I'm feeling better about it. It's a good thing to have. I'm glad we're doing this, Dan.
I was thinking about getting into this. I had to shout out my son though, real quick. Derek, yesterday we were coaching. I was coaching him at a game, and it was like the first time where I had to be at him like in his face about something. And I was like, "You are not my, you are not my son here, man. Wait, you are my. I'm your coach." And I could tell he was holding up back tears. And but he sucked it up to his credit. Got a big steal at the end, led to a basket. So I was like, I was proud of him for that. So you know what I mean? Like he could have broke down, he did not. So I was proud of my son yesterday for doing that. Little shout out to Derek there for that.
Not a boy, Derek. Nice That's job. Cool move.
It led to the championship. So we got that with it too. So Tyler, we're doing the look back with it. When I told you we were going to do a look back at the 2015 Game 2, because we were talking about games we should do, and I was like, well, how about this one, Game 2, 2015, the Rockets Warriors. What was your kind of initial thoughts when I said, well, let's do that game?
I was like, well, this is going to be exciting. This is going to be fresh in my head because I haven't watched that game fresh as in that. I don't remember this game at all, so it's going to be like brand new to me when I watch this game. Except I remember the ending very vividly, but before that, I didn't realize the ups and downs, the swings, and how the game went, and it was a real thrill to watch.
I thought the first thing that was kind of interesting as we set up the game is the Rockets, as they're playing the Rockets, it's a roster with Dwight Howard. It's a roster with James Harden, Trevor Ariza as your starting lineup. Jason Terry's in there as well, right? Josh Smith out there. You got Jones coming off the bench. It's an interesting roster as well. And then they lost to the Blazers the year before on the Lillard game winner. Right, and the Warriors lost the year before to the Clippers in Game 7. Mark Jackson wears the funeral suit to Game 7. He gets tossed, gets let go after that game. So the Warriors and Rockets both come off kind of what you would say is heartbreaking losses in the first round the year before. They meet up now a year later, and the interesting part about the Rockets is they had to come back from 3-1 and they beat the Clippers, which was a big deal because it was supposed to finally happen. Warriors, Clippers, Doc, against those things it was meant to happen, and then all of a sudden, Clippers choked it away. That kind of became their narrative, as we know, throughout the history there. So it was kind of funny that these teams met up. But the Warriors, this was a young Warriors team that still hadn't won the championship, so they were still kind of trying to figure out their way too. Now, when they first play, the Warriors get off to a hot first quarter. Curry has 15 points to start the game. You kind of forget Curry played that whole first quarter, and they went all out with him, right? And then the other thing I noticed right away is I miss you, Andrew Bogut. I miss you.
Oh my God, Andrew Bogut. That was one of my big. Man, if we had a big like Bogut today, the difference it would make in shot blocking, drawing a foul, the one-handed alley-oop he had from Draymond. I think it was Draymond who mobbed it up. I was like, oh man, we could use this right now. He was spectacular in this game.
To me, it's one of the more underrated games, though. When I think of the Warriors run, and I guess for me the reason it sticks out is because I think the Memphis ones matter too. I think those ones matter too, and we'll probably look back at one of those two at some point here. But I felt like this game was a big one because just the dramatic finish, the way they kind of at that point couldn't finish games really cleanly, and that happened again in a game like this, as you saw it the last minute. They should have won the game easily, and they almost blow the game. So that happened. It was kind of like, I don't know. I just thought, and it kind of brings me back to my main point is that Harden Curry duel, and then how their kind of passes were the same, and then it kind of, I don't know, they veered off a little bit differently. Like Harden's still a stud, but it kind of changed a little bit. What do you kind of make of that? In terms of watching this game, where did you think that kind of sits? Like, was it a big game to you, kind of looking back at it now?
It was a huge game because the Warriors were down 16 in Game 1 and came back to win. And then Game 2, they were up 15. They almost blow it, and they get up 2-0. They go on to win in 5 games, I believe, to go to the championship. And I think the Kevin McHale D'Antoni changed James Harden's career because he was getting mid-post touches with McHale. He was a little different. It wasn't just pick and roll, pound the ball.
To free throw a little bit more. He was not way back 3-point. He was like the front of the 3-point line. And I thought it was like, in some ways, did you find it more efficient in some way? I don't know.
It was more aesthetically pleasing. I could tell you that. I was like, wow, this James Harden's actually fun to watch. The first play, he's mid-post, gets an and one on Clay. Like, I had that at what age the best is, like, or worst is, what would have developed what happened if he developed this game, like, under someone not named D'Antoni who just wants to pound the ball and get to the hoop or shoot a 3-pointer. It was, and then the things go awry in Houston, and Steph never had that drama. I mean, he had some drama, but it was never, I want to leave Golden State. It was always basically him, Kerr, Draymond, Clay were going to be here till the end. It's what they said out loud. Now they're kind of dealing with Clay's situation now. But Harden, as soon as he saw his way out, he's like, oh, I'm going to go to Brooklyn with Kyrie, and then he just graduated every year, it seems.
And Harden, he always wanted. He didn't want to be controlled. That was like, he wanted to be coached, but not really coached. So like, I think that's what like D'Antoni allowed him to do. And then the part two with rewatching that game too is you saw the Howard was coming off an injury in game one, so he wasn't 100%. They made that clear. I was reading back on some articles with it. At that point, he was stiff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't the same Dwight Howard. But he was still effective. Every time Festus Ezeli came in, I was like, get him out of here. Howard, like, every time he was in, I was like, that's when Howard dominated. He really had a good, like, solid game. But it wasn't – his numbers always happened to be like that after the Orlando days, where it'd be like, yeah, he'd get his 24 and 17. And I know they've even made the Western Conference Finals here. And he did make some plays defensively. That's what he always did. He changed a lot of shots, no doubt, in the game. But there was just always a little something missing with him, right? There just was a little bit something with him a little bit. And in a game like this, I feel like it showed up, even though he played well. I don't know if that sounds weird, but it just like he played great, but I just was like, there's a little bit more juice. Like the one play that stands out to me is like they were like, that's a foul, but he went up so stiff and he like got like shot. I'm like, what? I was like, my great team, like just like I was like, I don't know, I didn't. There were just some things that like with him, I kind of just it was like a big dynamic looking back at that Howard Harden era. Or so I don't know.
When I look back at this McHale team of the Rockets, I look at their bigs, Josh Smith and Dwight Howard, and it just doesn't work, especially in today's day. Bogut and Green are so much more like cerebral. They're both good passers. They're both like, they're not going to hit threes or hit mid-range jumpers for the most part, but they do more as opposed to just being their best attribute being athletic. And that's what like Howard and Smith, it was like, oh, they can run in the fast break, they'll finish dunks. Outside of that, they're not giving you much else. Where Draymond and Bogut, you could give them the ball in the high post. They could make a back cut or hit a back cut. They set great screens. I'm sure Howard did as well, though. Yeah. But I felt like the cerebralism of the Warriors front court over the Rockets front court is what changed this game, or what made the difference in Rockets versus Warriors in a lot of series.
That's my sports has. They're a little off topic because Harden better in the playoffs than Dame. I don't know, like that's interesting. Harden like kind of goes back to like the end of the game here is like there was just again like couldn't make the play at the end. I rewatched that play a ton again, and like the only play he kind of had was like there was a split second where if he saw a pass to the middle, that was like there. I forget who it was cutting, but there was that was his play to make as Draymond and Harrison Barnes were trailing that play at the end. That was his pass to make there to make it. But I don't know. I would probably lean towards Harden still a little bit. I think
with Harden.
I don't know. Like he has the epic losses, but he does have a lot of good games too.
Yeah,
give me game 2, 3, and 4 Harden.
Yeah. I'd side with Dame because he has the epic moments. The 3 against the Thunder, the 3 against Portland. I don't know. They both don't perform as well in the playoffs as they do in the regular season. Harden's numbers actually look great in the playoffs, but or at least early in his career.
We talked about a little bit what age is the best, and you brought up what'd you bring up? You brought up something, but Clay, I think it was. I brought Oracle crowd. That was good seeing Oracle.
That was on my list.
Oracle was.
I brought up a little
beautiful to see all that. Do you think the crowd is it more that it changed the Bay Area? I don't think, or to me, or was it just was that the first one? That's what that energy felt like to me. Because even like when you got Durant, it was kind of different, but like even though it was still great, it was different. But that first energy was lit there, as you would say. Like that thing was
sure.
was crazy from the jump. It was it was packed. It was good stuff. Rewatching that.
I thought the crowd, that was definitely on what age the best was Oracle. The all yellow Oracle, the Warriors. That chant was great. And then I think Oracle and Oakland was more intimate. It wasn't as like big and like cathedral-esque. It was just small. You were on top of people, and it was just unbelievable arena to watch a game, especially when the Warriors were good.
You know what else I aged the best with the first quarter note they had is, did you hear the Kevin McHale story about 1986? I was like, my God, they said he played on
broke his foot.
I was like, my gosh, man.
Averaging 20 and 9.
I kind of was laughing because I was like, and he's coaching Dwight Howard. Like Dwight Howard, but you get my. It's like it's just kind of funny, like to think like this is the big guy he's coaching, he's out there with the knee thing. But that was probably like an intense story, playing on 2 rounds with a broken foot, Kevin. Out there.
All the way to the final.
Warriors.
McHale's got to be thinking, if you gave me that body, I'd be one of the best players to ever do this thing. Like,
oh gosh, you think?
I have Doris Burke, the sideline reporter. I enjoy her much more on the sidelines. No offense to Doris, but I love that. And then having the bigs like Bogut and Green who can pass and more cerebral. And then the Warriors bench back in 2015. Just an unbelievable bench.
Oh, Livingston. Unbelievable. Just a quiet 4 for 4.
Iggy, Livingston, Barbosa.
I miss those days. How about the ones where they block it out to Barbosa for the layup? Livingston with his little baby J's, the little right hand, the little fadeaway. That was beautiful to see. That brought back good memories. How about the Iggy dunk and the Clay dunk? Those were nice to see. And the Iggy dunk especially. But then Clay, you're like, whoa, whoa. Clay, I forgot we had this in you right now. I forgot. That was a pretty special dunk as well. So I thought those were kind of fun looking back as well too.
And my last best, what age the best was Jeff Van Gundy. I quote, Clay did not make the all-defense team. Wow, I'm shocked. He didn't make the all-defense team in 2015.
It's funny you wrote that down. I had the same thing. Written down. Bogut, though, second team and defense that year.
Draymond first team.
Green, what'd you think about young Green?
He was different. He was so much faster.
Ton of turnovers, though.
Oh, my God. The whole team. Steph, I have we'll get into that later. We'll get into
some. But turnovers were, I was like, my God, turnovers.
Some things never change in the Steve Kerr offense. A lot of assists and a lot of turnovers.
Josh Smith, like at that point, I'm not sure. Like, I feel like would he be? Is like you were going to say. Like, I think you were going to ask me something like, what players would maybe not play as well in this era? Like Josh Smith, I'm like, would he play better in this era? Like, or because he would get to just shoot more and everybody be okay with it? Or watching that was rough at times. Watching him play out there, like I'm like, why are we next to him like that? I think just because he made 9 threes against the Clippers in Game 7 or whatever that was, like that crazy game they had to come back. It was like Game 6, I think it was. I don't know. Smith was kind of rough to watch a little bit there. I thought Jones from Kentucky, he was kind of actually played pretty well this game too.
Yeah, he did play well, but I felt like it was overkill. You have 2 guys who basically do the same thing, backing each other up. Jones played well. Smith played absolutely pathetic, like you mentioned. I was like, how does this guy get any minutes watching this game? What was that?
Harrison Barnes, that was rough. That was a rough game for Big Harrison out there. Harrison was out. Harrison. That's why you did not stay with the team there for a while. I thought some big plays in that game. Kind of rewatching, like I said, if we kind of move towards the second half of the game. Well, the Rockets made that push they go on a 23-6 run in the second in the end of the 7 minutes. Howard gets the lob dunk to end it, and that's where Howard was at. It was kind of fun seeing that, and that's where Harden was fun too. He wasn't like just trying to get to the free throw line every time. I think he shot like 4 free throws up until the fourth quarter when he shot a little bit more. But like it was actually kind of, like you said, a little bit more entertaining and watching way more entertaining this game. But as we kind of move through it, it stays close basically the whole game. We got to get through the third there. The other thing that kind of stood out to me too is we kind of get to the third quarter as the Warriors kind of move. They're up 77-75. We get to Harden. He's got 26. Curry has 27. The duel of these superstars. These guys, this was a good series for these guys. They went back and forth, especially those first 2 games in this series. They really went at it. And the way they did it was different later in their careers because I think the teams adapted differently. But even the Warriors, too, they lost some guys along the way. And Curry, so I don't know. I just thought it was kind of the more of the same, but you get my point with it. And I just feel like the duel between these guys, and that year Curry won MVP, Harden was the runner-up. So I thought that was kind of a funny point. Clay finished 10th in that MVP race too. So I thought that was an interesting look back, kind of at that narrative there between these two, and like how their careers, like I said, have. It's not like they're not parallel, but they're right there. Their length is going to be around that same time where they start and retire. So it's going to be really interesting just to kind of see what the end of the numbers are here.
Yeah, to your point about Curry and how his game is, he led the league in three-pointers with 286 that year. He has 261 already this year. Like, he wasn't, like, that's absurd. Like, he's only 50 or 25 away with 30 games left. I don't know. This is how the NBA's changed.
What did I say? The Rockets were 7 for 23 in this game, and the Warriors were 8 for 24. The Warriors might get 24 shots, threes up in middle of the second
quarter.
Middle of the second by now. So that really is affecting. Like you said, that's not necessarily better to watch. So I don't know. That was something that kind of stood out to us for sure.
Absolutely.
So as we kind of move in from the third, again, Bogut just stood out to me this whole game. He was really good in this game. So when he played well, I remember the Warriors, whenever he played well, it felt like they never lost. It just felt like they never lost. The combination of him and Green on the back line with a Clay in his prime, that was just, we were one of the better. And then you have Iggy coming off the bench. I mean, it was good. It was good stuff there. No Mo Spates those next year. Who was your favorite guy? Did you see anybody off the bench? James McAdoo. I got to see Big James.
I mean, guys, I didn't I saw David Lee at the end of the game. I was like, oh yeah, David Lee was on the team. I forgot about David Lee.
Can I ask you real quick a question about David Lee? Because before I forget, I wrote it down. Do you think if he doesn't get hurt that off season in training camp, do you think the Warriors, is it any different? Does Green just end up outplaying him in the first month and it's all the same? Like, I don't know. Like,
no,
I felt like it would be.
I think it's different. I think Kerr's proven that he's can be slow to make changes in certain positions. It takes him a while, especially a veteran who. Even though he hadn't coached him, so maybe it's a little different, but I think he had enough. David Lee had enough time in the league to prove who he was as a player, but he just wasn't the same player after the injury. And he was always had his limitations. I'd rip on him all the time because of his lack of defense. Where Draymond just was another.
What a pump fake at the elbow, though.
Pump fake.
I think
the guy that surprised me the most that I saw for 3 minutes, like Nick Johnson. I didn't know Nick Johnson was going to get some minutes in this game. My boy out of Arizona.
You know who he is then, right?
Yeah, I know who Nick Johnson is. I didn't expect him to play.
I wrote that down on Tyler. When they said it, they said the Rockets thought he could be a great defender. What he played? What he played here? 2 minutes in the game. 250. He got 0 for 1. Missed a 3. Sorry, Nick, you're out of the game. Kevin said. So he's out there. It's funny. Kevin McHale gets fired the next year too. This well, he lasts 11 games and he gets fired the next season. And then JB Bickerstaff takes over. Then they lose to the Warriors in the first round too. That funny. All right, so we go to the fourth quarter with this game. Warriors to start. I'm thinking, and it'd be interesting to get your standpoint because it's fresher in your mind. Like they should have these games. These was what the Warriors used to do. They used to get these big leads, and then they would usually creep the team a little bit back. It kind of reminded me of that Nuggets series the year before, or a couple of years before, in a game 6, where it's like just inbound the ball properly. Let's get it up the court. They're up by. They get to it. They're up. The key to me was we get to we'll say the 4-minute mark, right? Warriors are up 6, 92-86. Green makes a free throw there. Curry jumper, Harden 3, Curry to Bogut, Harden again. Just the back and forth these guys had the last 3 minutes of this game. And then, but right about that 139 mark, the Warriors are up 8. You're like, oh, this game's over now on a Curry jumper. And then all of a sudden, right? Turnover, lob, and 1, free throws. Like Howard makes 1 or 2. At that age, the worst as well. That's free throws. But they're back in it. And then we get 33 seconds left in the game. So we're at the key, we're at the end here at the game, right? We get 33 seconds left in the game. Warriors have the ball. Van Gundy's, we need the double Curry. They double it, swings it over to Cold Harrison Barnes, and he goes in for a really tough layup, obviously, where Howard goes for the block, defends it well. But to make the play worse, Barnes falls down on the play, and then Green tries to sell a call, and he goes flying into the back, and now you're looking like it's going to be a 5-on-3, and Harden coming downhill. Looking back at the articles, is like, should he have called timeout? I don't think he should have. I think that was the right play, letting Harden go downhill at the end of game 2. with the line, looking like that's what he had with an option. But I thought Curry I was like, is this Curry's best defensive play in his NBA? Like, actually recognizing the double team and anticipating that he wasn't going to give it to Howard at the 3-point. Like, and then he did have to give it to Howard, which was a weird decision. And then Howard, though, gives it right back. And then there's the turnover the Warriors went out. So that's why I wrote down. I was like, this is Curry's best defensive play. him and Clay, the splash brothers, getting the defense done.
Yeah, they just played the Harden tendencies not to pass the ball in a big moment, and it paid off. I don't think they should have called timeout. I'm with you, but you skipped the big part. The damn 8-second violation with Steph Curry.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's
what I mean by those turnovers.
He has too many of these moments in his career. He had the timeout last year where he called too many timeouts. It's kind of a what's age the worst for me. Like these Curry moments that aren't pretty to end games. It's his fault. I don't know. Probably not all his fault. He should have had a teammate around.
Finals one? Doesn't he have the finals one? Like he went behind his back, right? Game 7.
Yeah. Yes, he has many of these moments. They're like, what's going on in these last? He's so loose that he's too loose. But I thought that was a big play that had to be mentioned. As far as end of the game, yeah, great double by the Splash Brothers.
What was with the Warriors in that situation at the end of games? They struggled with that. They still kind of do. Last year they lost like 5 games in the last 10 seconds when they were up. Remember
this year they have.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's like one of these. Maybe it happens to other teams too, but it surely happens to this team all the time. It feels like every time they're in these. Like I said, that Nuggets one stands out from a few years ago too. That was one of the most ridiculous ones. They barely hung on to win. Jared Jack handled the ball.
What about Nuggets this year? Up by 20.
Yeah, that one was pathetic. Yes,
Jokic hitting the 3 at the buzzer. There's a lot of bad.
So as we kind of put a recap on the game with it, we kind of look back at that critical play. Like I said, to me, obviously that's the conclusion of, to me, an underrated look back game in Warriors history, as they, again, hadn't won a championship at that point. We're still learning how to win and finish games. Granted, I think this Rockets team was not on their level. I definitely don't think that at all. I don't think they were on, but the Rockets team was, like I said, it was a weird Rockets team. And so they did play tough, and they especially played tough the first 2 games, and then they kind of died, especially game 4, they really died. But I don't know. I just think it's one of those games that I just think, because it's a weird ending. Usually you think of the Warriors and you think of Curry, you think of Clay, and you think of offense, and they actually at the end had this defensive moment against this guy that was kind of, I don't know, let's say they do win that series. That was kind of the guy they were battling, and they would continue to battle.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, they haven't won yet, and to go up 2-0 is a big deal, especially in a place that's never won. Like Oakland would have been on there, would have been nervous if they lost. I mean, they still were nervous until they finally wrapped it up against Cleveland in Game 6.
Yep,
we were always on eggshells, thinking what's going to go wrong. Something's going to go wrong at some point. We're too much is going right for Oakland at this point, and then it all worked out. But yeah, that to go 1-1 back to Houston. Everyone would have been walking a little less confidently if they blew that game, especially with the way they played the first quarter and a half and just play like shit the rest of the game offensively. They, like, rudely put, but they didn't play good offensively in the last 2.5 quarters.
So again, I'm going to ask you this. Where do you feel, I know we didn't ask you to rank it, but where do you feel watching this game? One that you've admitted that you kind of forgot about as a Warriors fan. Not forgot because you remember the end, but forgot the details of like how it played out, how it got there. Obviously as you listen to the game, they give you the history of what happened in some of the games before and what led up to it a little bit. And you kind of get remembered of, oh yeah, Draymond was first team. He could do this. Oh yeah, Iggy could run full speed. Like you forget Barbosa was there. You forget these things with it. And then you forget these, like you said. Then you have the McHale era with it. Harden's factor. Where do you kind of again look? As you put a bow on this, where do you put like kind of your thoughts with like this in Warriors history, like this kind of game?
I mean, it's the biggest game in the Western Conference Finals that year. After that, bigger than any Blazers Western Conference Finals game. It's one of the big games because of momentum. Like game 1 was almost just as big because they blew that game, or not blew, but then came back and then
they were down 16 at that one point.
Yeah, exactly. If they lost that game, down 1-0 is rough, especially when you're playing the Oracle. You expect to win all your games at home in that era. Then the tie. I thought it was a big game. I don't know where to put it overall. Like
I got you. I just feel like I just feel like it started. It's like that first year. I feel like it kind of, and then the way the game ended with them making a defensive play.
Yeah, it was huge.
All right, who's more deserving of top 75, Howard or Clay? It's remember like they both got left off, and I know it's a tough one for you, maybe. So
I think it's Clay, but I think Howard is, if he retired after that game, that was his last game ever played. This is my Len Bias award. If he retired after that game and didn't play a game, his legacy would have been so much different. He didn't go to one more All-Star game. He didn't win any awards after that. He was just like a journeyman. He had some good years in Atlanta. But I think it's Clay. Clay's two-way defense, offense. People forget how good he was. I mean, Howard was great.
The Magic to a finals over LeBron's Cavs.
Clay was never given the opportunity. I get it.
He did against
stuff.
The Rockets. He did help win a series against the Rockets the next year. I would kind of lean towards Dwight a little bit in his prime, but I think overall, like the skills that because Dwight, like you said at the end, at this point, he was I don't know, he was a little still. I would put I'd put VC or T-Mac over Clay. I wouldn't put Vince Carter over him. T-Mac, yeah, I think Clay I'd take over. I think his shooting's. I don't know. That's interesting. I think I would still take Clay.
Basketball is a two-sided. You got to play defense too. Clay was the best shooting guard defender in that.
And he had some awesome blocks in this game. That one particular where he has a couple times. That was actually a really fun part too. Was watching him and I mean Harden obviously played well, but him and Clay really battled. Like I said, and it was different because it wasn't Clay guarding him at like way out at the 3-point line. It was like Harden trying to get to the elbow. So it was like this really kind of tight matchup where they were really battling physically too. And Harden obviously got his, but Clay blocked him like 2 times, I believe, in that game. One, a really good one that led to which I thought was going to be the end of the game, 98-90. But I don't know. I thought that was a really fun part. And like you said, Clay did D up. he did in that one. In that game, you saw it.
Outside of Kobe, he was the best defensive two guard. Kobe was old at this point, so I'd even put him over Kobe at that point on defense.
So the offensive strategy then versus now, it obviously we know 3-pointers give you more points and and all that analytics, but like, and I know the bigs part of it, but like you can see when you have 2 like decent bigs with another star guard, it is a different. You can play like it doesn't have to be that way. Like just picking. I don't know. I just thought it was like kind of fun to watch. They did like the Bogut angle and the Howard angle, even though. I don't know. I just thought that was a different battle. We don't get those really the same anymore. I know like even Giannis and Victor, they're good. They're just different looking in a sense. So it was kind of fun rewatching a game. Not saying it's more aesthetically pleasing, but it was kind of fun just watching that different style, little different bigs.
It's way different. Like Victor and Giannis are going to dribble the ball. Howard and Bogut didn't want to dribble. I mean, Bogut had one time. I think he took it to the free throw line. But the Victor and Giannis are going to attempt some 3-pointers. They didn't know. They weren't even going to take 8-footers.
What did you think aged the worst? Some of the things that you had a few of there. What did you think?
Oh, what aged the worst? Josh Smith was number 1 on my list. 17 shots and making like 3, I believe. And then Steph Curry one-handed passes. Oh, gosh. I wish that we could just get rid of those for his whole career, just to take away those turnovers. I think it'd make a significant difference in his amount of turnovers for his career. I thought his turnovers were, especially in the second quarter, late in the second quarter, I was like, what are we doing here?
How about for what? Like I said, I had Dwight Howard's free throws on there. I kind of thinking Barnes was a keeper for me was maybe what aged the worst. Thinking Barnes was a keeper there for a little bit, aged the worst. I some of the other things that I kind of wanted to point out with it too that were just I had the Monte Ellis Award, which was not an all. Who would you take that was never an all-star from either of these rosters? Like they would take. For me, I think I would end up taking. For some reason, I was a Corey Brewer fan. I don't know why I always liked Corey Brewer. I think Corey Brewer was the guy I take. He was erratic, but I always liked him for some reason.
I'm taking Son Livingston, even though he played 14 minutes. Give me the great backup minutes where he's going to shoot 60%.
Trevor Ariza doesn't get any love.
I mean, he won a championship with the Lakers. He has moments.
He had a long career. I forgot. I looked back at his career. He played a long time.
He played on some random teams.
He did. I think his longest tenure was like 5 years with the Rockets. Then he had like a lot of 3-3, 1-1-1s that he played with all the way there. A lot of ones at the end with it. So Warriors Rockets game 2. I just thought it was fun looking back at. just a different game that we haven't looked at in a while. Any last thoughts on like some other things that you had questions about?
Who was anybody's apex at this point in their career? Like I think Dwight Howard's is. Well, no, his is with Orlando when they go to the.
When you say apex, you mean they were at their peak of their powers?
Yeah.
I would say this is
Bogut?
definitely a Green. I think Green is just like his activity defensively is insane in this game. It's just like he is everywhere. He's falling, he's flopping, and he didn't have the reputation quite yet. Like he did have a few like little physical plays, you would say, like going in on Jones.
Yelled at the refs a couple times.
Yeah, so little stuff like that. So, but he wasn't like he didn't have that edge yet quite to him in terms of like going at the refs the way he does. I think Bogut helped him with that in some ways. I think Bogut, Bogut was really the tough guy of that team in some sense. Like I think everybody knew that. Like you know what I mean. I don't even think Green would mess with Bogut. You know what I mean? Like if he, I think there's an edge to the Bogut that was different than most people. I always thought it was funny looking back at too. I remember Mark Jackson wasn't a fan of Andrew Bogut, so this was the first year Jackson was calling games. And then they made the finals, and out here that was a big deal. Remember, like everybody thought Mark Jackson did it like like he was kind of ripping on the Warriors and especially Bogut. There was a couple times in this game where he took a good. Yep, he threw that elbow first at Howard's head. He threw that. A couple times with that. So I thought that was kind of funny looking back at that a little bit. So you got a couple other things.
And then what's the most rewatchable moment of the game? Is it the Curry flurry in the first, or is it the Iggy dunk on Howard to start the second quarter? Were my two most memorable, most rewatchable moments of the whole game.
The Iggy dunk.
Or is it to end the game with the Harden turnover? I guess that would be the third option.
It was the Iggy dunk, and it's that last play. That last play will stand out to me because, like I said, Splash Brothers equal offense for one play. Yeah, a lot of people forget about it because there's only one. They actually kind of made a defensive stand together to win a game. And it was a good defense. It wasn't like anything fake. Curry actually had to make an intelligent read. Clay was in his, in a good spot. They made it. It was a great. To me, that was the most rewatchable part. That's the part I rewatched the most. And the Iggy dunk. And then I also think it was kind of fun rewatching the Bogut passes from the elbow. Though he makes that one over there. Like that was like we just don't get that stuff anymore from big loons. Like we don't get that anymore.
I get that from TJD.
No, I don't get that.
My last one was Livingston injured or banged up. Why do you only play 14 minutes? Was that normal for him to get a quarter of playing then?
Yeah, remember he was kind of always on like kind of little limitations. Let's look at game one real quick. See how many game minutes he played there. Game one, he played 28 minutes in game one, so that's probably a big reason.
Probably slowed him down again too.
Yeah, Kerr really wanted to ice those bad boys. We didn't want to
get those knees checked up.
Game one, Curry ended up with 34, just to give you a little perspective, and Harden ended up with 28. Harden only 11 for 20. Could you imagine a game where Harden, game one, he shoots 3 threes in game one. That's all he shoots.
How many free throws did he take game one?
In game one, he ended up taking 6 free throws. In game two, he ends up taking. I bet he takes 6 threes, but goes 3 for 6. So it's just a different game. As we talked about it just a little bit. And Harden, like we said, I enjoyed watching it. I didn't mind watching a little Harden now that I think back then.
Harden was a different animal back then. Like, this guy's fun.
Can I point out real quick? It was real funny in that MVP race that Westbrook would finish third and Durant fourth for OKC. I was like, it was just funny to me to think that. I don't know. That just shows you where the NBA was. Where Durant would fit. They're both studs, but you're like, what team really drove that? I don't know. That's what's becoming fun.
It's crazy. It's funny that what would have happened if they were on different teams? Would they have been the MVP with the numbers they put up? Or
yeah, I would say that.
And they got split.
I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny that looking back at it, just that they ranked him ahead of it. That spot. Logan, you can go straight to you. Don't worry. Let's see. We'll see on the Molina and Posey debate coming up soon on 7th Inning Stretch. Everybody, Tyler. In 4 months, we'll be prepared. We will have it down, and we'll do the episode. Josh will be prepared. We'll have it. Josh, like I said, all Josh has to say is Posey's overrated. I think we'll have something there a little bit. We'll get the juice flowing.
Exactly.
I think that'll be enough natural. We don't even need liquid courage for that type of statement. All right. So Tyler,
my blood flowing.
That was fun, man. I think we're gonna start doing a little bit more of these. Maybe one a month, maybe a little bit more, but I think it'll be fun kind of looking back at other games. Like we've done baseball ones in the past. But I think we'll probably do a few more basketball ones here as well with the Warriors. I don't know where we're going to go next with it. I don't know where, but I think this was a fun one to kind of
maybe a guest. Maybe a guest
with it. It'd be fun to do a little Memphis one. Maybe have those guys on with us once, or maybe for 3 the Hardaway or something like that. Or Doug and I maybe doing a Cavs Warriors rewatchable. Just not Game 7, please. Just not Game 7, por favor. Not that one. Not Game 7. Not Game 7. I don't want to do that one. I'll watch games 1, 2, and 4. That's all I'll watch. So, go ahead.
The comment about I'd put VC or T-Mac over Clay. Just looking at it here constantly.
You wouldn't have T-Mac over Clay?
What's T-Mac's memorable moment? He beat the Spurs in the regular season. He doesn't have any memorable.
He had a nice dunk on Red. He was up 3-1.
Talking about Dwight led
3-1 on the 3-1 on the Pistons.
Yeah, talking about he won the series already. And
I don't know. I think T-Mac is. If I think back to his skill set, I think he was a little better than Clay. I think he could get baskets easier.
I think he's offensively better than Clay.
Yeah, probably so. But he played. I mean, maybe it was Yao Ming. I mean, he played with a coach that let him score 70 points a game and stand over there. I'm hoping we can format it so Josh doesn't say no to one more. Yeah, I know. Me and you will host it together. We'll have some fun with those on it, and then we can do a Terry Steinbach.
I can make an argument Posey has had more of impact on games than Johnny Belina.
It's asinine over there. As we get a little Bellinger news, a little baseball news, hot stove, 7th inning stretch. I've been fired up with that as we got into a double podcast here too on Variety Sports Network. Tyler, Fatboy FadeAway Sports. I know you got
got an extension 2 years.
Steve Kerr got an extension, but more importantly, you have a baseball. What is the coaches? Is this like they show you drills or something? You have to go.
No, they're not showing. If it is, I'm walking out. I don't need your stupid drills.
How to hit the fun go.
I know how to hit fun go. I know how to get people to make them play defense for 2/3 of the day, and they can hit.
It's just like the one where you have to go to make sure you just like get the clearance to play type of thing.
Yeah, you got the paperwork to fill out to make sure you're not a little pedo.
All that stuff.
All that good stuff.
Is that it? All little league stuff. I can't believe you have to do it as the assistant coach too.
I think all of them do it now.
Ryan never had to do that. He probably wouldn't have wanted to do it if he had to go do that stuff.
I mean, it's good. I'm glad they make us do it. I don't want. I don't know.
No. I'm laughing. All right. So we got that. We did the look back here this morning. That was fun, T. That was fun. So,
absolutely. It's always good to look back at
McNeil played on broken leg. What a stat. What a stat. So then the next year, the Warriors beat the Rockets and then Howard's
the first series, opening series.
They're done at that point. They're out. So obviously the Warriors then lose to the Cavs in the finals. And then we end up with Kevin Durant. You end up knows what happened there. But that Rockets thing, he went there in 2012, and then he left in 2019, 2020. He had a good. He didn't win anything, but he had a. I don't know.
I mean, he's one of the greatest Rockets of all time.
That's what I'm trying to think. How do they view him? Like as a fan,
probably number 2.
Because he's got to be a little annoying too as a fan, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, he has. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. The good with the bad. He didn't like. I don't know. I mean, he won an MVP.
Not Akeem,
he had won multiple scoring championships.
Is he okay? So is he the second best Rocket? Is it Akeem and then Ralph Sampson?
Harden's got to be better than Ralph.
He went at Drexler, a little short term. No, it's gotta be. It's gotta be hard.
Mad Max. Kenny Anderson.
Kenny
Anderson.
No, it's gotta be Kenny Smith. You mean Kenny Smith?
Kenny Smith.
Are you trying to combine him and Nicky Anderson? No, I think that's what it is. All right, T. That was a good episode this week. Steve Kerr gets the extension of young Steven in this one as well.
Oh, very young. They all are baby faced.
Young Steve Young. Steve Kerr, I mean. Looking at it. So, all right, T, that was a good show. We'll be back at episode 168 next week. Maybe not a look back, but we'll kind of reflect on some things as well with it. Have a good rest of your Sunday, sir.
Absolutely. You as well.
All right, T. Take it easy. See you then, everybody. Peace.
Peace.